Warning sign, low spirits. I'm Michael Toscano. Stock markets around the world are...
Price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
He is the voice of the conservative millennials.
The president is going to have to stand fast.
The Ben Shapiro Show.
They're not going to be willing to keep the government shut down.
Tomorrow at 3 p.m. on News Radio 1440. Depend on it.
Okay, I don't have time to get my music this morning. That was will you push that door for me, sir? Appreciate that.
We don't need music. I don't need anything music, any intro or anything else. Let's just jump right on in. We got work to do.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, we are the mayor of the City of Montgomery is here, Mr. Stephen Reed, the Honorable Stephen Reed. Once you come mayor, we'll call you everything you do. We say honorable. So the Honorable Stephen Reed.
Well, it's better than being dishonorable.
Well, that's true too. So what's on your mind this morning, Mayor?
Great first 100 days, but that had to be the longest commercial break.
I did that so you could have a lot more time to talk initially. Then we went have to go to a break.
Thank you for that education and information. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. That's key, Kevin. Mm-hmm. It's been a great, 112 days, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Now this morning I played your speech you did on February 18th, and if you want to get into that at some point, you can. But what were your goals the first 100 days, and are we doing what we can to help you, or have you found impediments?
Oh, well, I think there's been both. On one side, certainly, we want to listen and learn and talk to our department heads about what's been going good in the city and what can be a little bit better. Mm-hmm. What can we do a little bit more, effective and efficient. So we've done, I think, a real good job of that. And we're still doing it. You think you can learn about the city and get down to the nuts and bolts of everything in 100 days, and you can't. So we're still learning and listening to a lot of our departments about what areas need a little work and what areas we just kind of need to fine-tune a little bit. So, we've been able to get into, some of the projects that have been going on with the Smart City Initiative, with the Feed the Meter, addressing the homeless initiatives, with the urban farming program, over here in the 3 Points neighborhood. So we've been able to get some initiatives off the ground that we talked about in the campaign. We've had conversations about how we improve public transportation around the city, how we make that more equitable for people who may have challenges getting to their jobs. We've had some very good discussions even about development and just the operations of the city. And certainly we've been focused on public safety. We've been focused on that with Chief Finley. We've been focused on that with Chief Jordan as well, with our fire and rescue, and some of the challenges that they face, as well as some things that we want to continue to do, and maybe some new ideas that we have as well to improve this community overall. So we've had some very good things going on, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that just within the last couple of weeks, we had a great bond rating that we'll announce, probably more formally next week, where we're AA bond rated. We have a fantastic financial, system in place for the city of Montgomery with which to build on. And money matters, and where your financial standing matters, too, when you want to do some other things.
Mm-hmm. Now, the bond rating is the apparatus by which you can borrow money, put up bonds and things of that nature in order to move forward financially. Is that...
Yeah, and it talks about, again, just the stability of the city finances itself, and kind of where you are budget-wise as well as you are in your debt service. It's no different than, your personal account. When you look at your checkbook, you look at your savings account, where do you stand? And if you want to do something different, if you want to, kind of, remodel the house, maybe you can do that. If you have to kind of fix some things, you can do some of those a lot easier.
It gives you freedom to maneuver.
It gives you freedom to maybe take on some additional projects that we're looking at, whether it's the multiplex. We've got some issues there that we've got to address. We've also got some areas, some infrastructure issues with some parking garages. Nothing sexy, but these are day-to-day things that you deal with in city management that you have to deal with because they are public facilities, and you have to make sure that you're compliant, and you have to make sure that you're in line if people are using them. And those are things that cost money, and I didn't get to, the street paving and, the curb appeal and some of those other areas, sidewalk installations and some of those other areas that we have to address. And I think that by taking some of the moves we've had to essentially refinance some of the debt, we're going to be getting some money back on some of those deals because of great decisions that our finance department has been making, and I think some of the decisions that we made in the first 100 days to do things while the financial picture in the bond market and the stock market is where it is because interest rates are low. And so it gives cities an opportunity to also maximize our financial standing and our liquidity.
Any surprises in the job that you did not expect, either pleasantly or not so pleasant? Any surprises in the job that you hadn't anticipated?
Well, I think pleasantly the support in the local community has been outstanding. I think there have been so many people who've reached out to try to offer ideas and offer thoughts and solutions and bring, various facts and information to the table that we probably otherwise wouldn't have known. The external support, the amount of corporations and foundations that are interested in Montgomery because of the election has blown me away. I mean, you couldn't have told me the day before the election that we would be hearing from major entities that we've already begun talks with about partnering with, that you would know by one name, who were interested because of the history they saw being made in the election. And so that's given us a platform to really think outside the box, if you will, and to really go to a lot of them who have come to us with, okay, yeah, here's some areas that we can use some assistance with. Here's some ideas we have. And then for them, these are ways that they can get into an historic city like Montgomery, one that because of, corporate responsibility, many of them feel, an importance to because of the history of this country and the role Montgomery has played in that. And I think that because we have been open to a lot of communication and a lot of ideas where I'm not sure if that was always maybe a priority, that, we've been able to get even more people that involved. They want to help us with our community programs. They want to help us in education. They want to help us in crime and public safety. They want to help us in health and wellness, data and infrastructure. Really across the board, we have just received so much goodwill from outside of Montgomery and outside of Alabama by entities that have been involved and partnered with other cities throughout this country to help improve them. Because government can't do it all. You need partners, you need relationships, and for us to be able to fast track that with organizations that have a proven record of getting into cities and helping where city budgets can't cover and helping where even people with their best intentions and their nonprofits can't cover, that's been very positive. And I think certainly the work with the city council has been very productive as well. And, all the city councilmen have, their needs and priorities, and we've had some great conversations. And a lot of them have been, even in themselves as councilmen, they have kind of a priority list as from a district perspective, but all of them want to help move this city forward. And I think those things have been great surprises.
There was some concern when you were running about the relationship with the city council. It seemed from a bystander that relationship, at least for the moment, it's a pretty good relationship.
It is, and I think it's one that we have mutual respect for the roles and responsibility of the council and the mayor, and we've been having good conversations. I just got a call from a councilman just now. I'm going to have to call them back, and I like that. We talk, we text, and we're sharing information and ideas, and what we want our staff to do in the city is to work with our councilmen, because our councilmen, they don't have analysts, they don't have aides, they don't have help, and that's something that maybe we ought to look at some point, because in other cities this size, there's at least somebody helping them, which helps with the constituents, which helps with the citizens for them to be more effective. And so we have a very good relationship about where we are on the priorities. That's not to say that we've agreed on
Right.
10 out of 10 things. But we've agreed certainly overwhelmingly to what the priorities are right now and kind of how to go about it and what type of city we want to create. We just may have some different thoughts about how to get there.
When you first got in, you came up with your transition team, the
Yes.
people you put together. I actually attended one of those meetings and found it actually quite informative and good and pretty good. But there were some complaints about regular people didn't have an opportunity to to involve themselves in your team.
Yeah.
Address that. Now, I said, you can't bring in people who farm at a surgeon's conference. I mean, farming is good and surgeon is something else. You got to bring people in with an expertise in the areas which you want to improve. But how did that process play itself out? Because we got people out there that, he said people, we were just the regular people. Okay, I don't know what the regular people is, but I know one thing. If I'm sitting on the gurney and I need brain surgery, I don't want the guy cooking at McDonald's. I want the guy who knows how to work on my brain.
Right. Well, listen, I think if there's one decision that I can point to that probably really propel these first 100 days to being where they went, it was a decision to have a transition team. That had never happened here in a mayoral position here. And I think more importantly, the type of people that we asked and who accepted showed their commitment to the city of Montgomery. And that decision itself, I think also because of the subcommittee work, not just the transition chairman, which we had, I think, 13 of them, but when you look at kind of the subcommittee work, which went out to about 75 or so people, I would say there were a lot of regular people there for whatever the word regular means. These are people who are involved. These are people who know a lot about what's going on. They may be names that some others may not know, but trust me, in running for probate judge and then running for mayor and then obviously serving for 6 years, these are people who are doing things all across this community, not looking for a position, not looking for a title, not even looking for any accolades. These are people who are working in the community in various levels. And so, we wanted to make sure that we had people who were already involved, people who wanted to be involved, and people who had been long-standing stakeholders here. So we did have some, names. I guess if you want to look at a Jake Aronoff and a name like that and say, well, hey, that family has been around Montgomery for a long time. We did have some of those type names, but we also had a David Whitlow, whose family has also been around Montgomery for a long time. But he's a college student, SGA president at Alabama State University, a graduate of MPS, who brought fantastic ideas. I mean, it was the knowledge sharing there was amazing, and I heard it from CEOs, I heard it from shareholders at law firms, I heard it from surgeons, and I heard it from people who have been running their own nonprofits for years. Well, I didn't know this person or this organization did X. And so that has really been helpful to us, and I hope to be able to come back and talk about those transition recommendations because it is expansive. It is something, even if I can't, I want you to get the report. Hopefully you'll read it all of it. You'll read all of it. You're going to read all of it, aren't you? Okay. Well,
Give me
I give you the one-page executive summary.
Yeah. Give me the cliff notes.
Okay, I give you the cliff notes. But that's important because that information around health and wellness, data and infrastructure, police and public safety, education, all of the areas that we were touching in that report, that's pretty much going to be what is recommended by the community. We had some public meetings, we had some private meetings, because sometimes in private, people talk a little different. And we wanted people to be able to talk a little different and not have to worry about, someone disagreeing with them. But we also wanted public input as well. Now, with that, it's not the end of the process. Once we get the recommendations, I'm going to go around this community. We're going to talk about those recommendations. So there will be opportunities for more public input that I will then take on as well. So this process is still ongoing. Okay.
860-1440. If you got a question for the mayor, feel free to give us a call. I do plan on taking some calls.
I like calls now.
Yeah,
so I don't hide.
Let me see the phone working. I think it's working. Yeah, it's working. Okay. I mean, they talk a lot of smack when you're not here. So you here, so let them talk to you. But let's get down to the nitty gritty here.
Yeah.
Are you willing to fight your battle to the end? Whatever battle you come up with, are you willing to politics be darned? Are you willing to fight to the end?
Now, you know the answer to that question already.
Okay, I just want to hear you say it. The biggest criticism of you so far, and you'll have many as time goes on.
Yeah.
Is and I played again your speech to the council on the 18th February. I thought you did a fantastic job. I put that on my podcast, as a matter of fact. But I'm going to take some of the call, but we're going to talk about the biggest issue that have confronted you since you've been in. But let's take a couple of calls so they won't say, you take all the time. So let me talk. Good morning. On air with the mayor.
Good morning. Mayor Reed, this is what I want to know. You all have the feed the meter thing going on.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how do the homeless get the money that you have provided in the feed the meter? Because I still see them standing around with funds. So how do they go by the public resource? How do they go by applying or whatever they need to do? And I want to say this to you. I want to congratulate you for standing in an executive position, because the council, I've never seen where it actually working like it's supposed to work. The council is the people's voice, and they're doing their job, and you are allowing them to do their job by working the council from their bench and not yours. I want to congratulate you on that. You know your position. And you have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, you can apply to. You can call Tom Pearson, our general services. If there's some other places that you'd like to see the feed the meter for the homeless, and that's just our first initiative. We've got some other ones lined up, and I mentioned some other entities that we've been talking with that really want to help us out, address this issue, and not just put a Band-Aid on it, but really help people get back on their feet.
But is that the city's job?
What's that?
Is that the city's job to help people get on their feet? Is that our job?
No, I mean not if you look at things just in purely black and white forms. No, it's not. But I think when you're thinking about the overall benefit of the community, you have to look at things not just in terms of what's on paper, but what are the ideals and what can you do to try to prioritize and work outside of that and use that platform from the city to push those things forward.
Okay. Good morning, on air.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
I want to make a suggestion that we've been talking about this on the radio. If we cannot get the occupational tax or we'll have to sue, why don't we put up some toll bridges like they have up there on Emery Mountain? And as they come in the city, they can pay 50 cents a day. Coming in and out.
That has been discussed. I shouldn't say discussed. That's been suggested. There have been a number of suggestions of things. And, you know, the way we look at funding revenue, bringing in additional revenue to the city, is not done haphazardly. It's done really with a lot of deliberation. And, you know, it's not done to punish anybody at all. What we're trying to do for the most part is, one, be able to determine our own destiny and not have that taken away from us and stripped from us because leadership has changed. The second thing is we do have some needs, and we're open to looking at a lot of ideas of how to address our needs with public safety, how to get back into, you know, our neighborhood revitalization programs and putting money there, as well as in our community centers and our parks and rec. And I mentioned earlier our public transportation. So, you know, we aren't looking to punish anyone or just kind of do anything that's punitive as much as we are, you know, what are other cities doing? What are other cities allowed to do to generate revenue that will put our city on the same playing field as theirs? Okay.
Good morning, on the air to Mayor.
Good morning, man. It's Randall. How you doing, Mr. Honorable Mayor?
Hey, I'm doing well. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. I mean, I know you ain't, you know, you got what you're going to do the next at least year and 2 years, but how can we utilize the Eastdale skating ring and hook it up with your new hockey team you're going to hopefully bring aboard in, you know, next 4 or 5 years? How can we utilize that, let private protect the mall and like have a B team hockey that comes out of Eastdale Mall that we can, you know, put our youth in, and then, you know, how you going to get that city school system for us. You can kind of combine it all, and that'll give another little paying job for these kids to look up to. Something else, you know what I mean?
Well, let me say this. I'm not trying to get a city school system. Let me walk that back. But I heard how you got that in there. The second thing is, you know, on what I've been told about the mall, so I've got some parents that have to take their kids to Shelby County because they're ice skaters. And I said, well, what about the ice skating rink in Eastdale Mall? Well, it's not big enough. So it's not big enough for that. It's not regulation. There's been talk potentially about, doing some of that in Garrett Coliseum and having that opportunity. But again, what we have to look at is how we're going to prioritize the amount of money that we currently have for things that I believe a lot of people in the community would like to see, probably starting with our community centers, starting with some of our more public facilities, Lagoon Park, some of our other parks and the updates that they need. But how do we kind of balance that when you look at Hoover, Alabama, and you look at Florence and Decatur, Alabama, and you look at, Gulf Shores and these places that have, fantastic and outstanding, athletic and social and public recreational spaces. It does, it becomes part of the equation of what do you do with those dollars? And I can tell you, in those communities, the cities are funding those programs. That's not private. Those are city-funded programs. Those cities are investing in their youth. They're investing in their community because they realize the return on investment they get in a number of ways by getting kids involved, by getting their parents involved in these other activities, not to mention the financial opportunities and benefits that come when they can have people rent out those spaces and they can have tournaments and contests and things of that nature.
Okay. Good morning. You're on air with the mayor.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good morning.
I just want to say, why do you think it's a need to increase the property tax when you have less children in public schools and over 80% that go to public school, parents don't pay property tax at all? I'll hang up and let you listen to that.
Yes, sir. So, number one, I don't know that 80% of the children whose parents go to school don't pay property tax. That's number one. The second thing is I believe it's important that we invest in our public schools because this community never has, and we're dealing with the consequences of that every day. We deal with the consequences of that economically. We deal with the consequences of that in our criminal justice system. We deal with the consequences of that even in our health and wellness. So this community has never invested in public education at a level that other parts of this state have. And we have done our children, we've done our educators, and we've done the parents a disservice. Now, that's not to say that they haven't been good students to come out of that. I think I'm one of them. But we have not adjusted and adapted in a way that really serves our community in a positive manner. And I believe it's not a matter of taxing. Again, people use tax as a four-letter word around here. James Baldwin said you may not get everything you pay for, but you will pay for everything you get. So it's important. You pay now, you pay later. Either we pay on the front end in education and opportunity, or we pay on the back end with somebody who's not paying taxes, somebody who's not working at the level of job that they otherwise might have, or we pay in the worst case scenario where they become a part of the criminal justice system and we are paying for them in a different manner. So I believe if we start on the front end and we give kids and their parents the opportunities, that benefits us in so many ways, not just in education, but also when we're trying to bring economic development opportunities here.
Are we? I don't want to turn our government into a social service agency. And you mentioned a few things up here today. I mean, if you don't pay now, you pay on the back end. If you don't pay on the front, you pay on the back end.
Government has always been a social service agency, Kevin. Well, that's why we have that's why we had Department of Education. That's why we had Department of Health and Human Services. We've always been that. Government has always been that at every level, at every tier of government you look at. That's what it is. It's not just there to set rules and enforce them. It is there to improve society and to help manage and ultimately.
Then we'll never have enough money.
What's that?
We'll never have enough money.
Well, no, you may never have enough because needs change. So you look at things from the standpoint of where are the needs right now, not whether or not we have enough or don't have enough.
But if we had enough money, enough revenue coming to the city of Montgomery to fix the infrastructure, like I don't have any problem with the Garrett Coliseum because. Then let somebody. I don't know if we should get in the business of making rinks for people for private enterprises.
Well, that's that. It wouldn't be for that, but I'm just saying that's one of the auxiliary uses. I mean, you're not going to put a rink out there just for 10 people to have a hockey league. Not here, but you may have it so that you can recruit minor league hockey here, which some have discussed doing, and then so there are various uses for that.
Okay, we'll be back. The mayor of the city of Montgomery, Honorable Stephen Reed's with us. 860-1440 is the number. You can text me 450-9022 if you can't get in, and I'll try to give him the message. We'll be back.
To fly away with me. Gotta
WSFA First Alert.
Have to stand fast.
The Ben Shapiro Show.
They're not going to be willing to keep the government shut down.
Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. on News Radio 1440. Depend on it.
Los Angeles. And in this presentation, I'm going...
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Now, when you guys... Oh, Mayor, let me... how long you planning on being here? Till 9?
This is your job, not mine. So I can't stay till 9. I got to get back to the people's work.
Well, then I want you to give some short answers.
All right. You tell me I'm talking too long?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to get everybody in.
Okay.
Good morning. You're on the air with the mayor.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Hey, I have no problem with paying the property with it. Occupational tax in Montgomery. I don't live inside of Montgomery, but something I would like to ask you about. And kudos on that. I talked to you down at the center down by Crescent Bowl about that gardening thing you were doing.
Yes, sir.
You wanted to do, and I'm glad to see you guys doing that with the Tuskegee.
Thank you.
But one thing, you got 65,000 people, like Kevin says, is coming in and out of Montgomery. Your bus system is suffering. Have you did a study or thought about doing? We got all these people coming in and out. Having a shuttle bus that comes from Prattville, Millbrook, and maybe even Wetumpka to relieve some of the traffic on the interstate and generate some kind of income for the city to help out their bus system. And I think that'd be a great idea because you've got a lot of traffic all throughout the day. You've got accidents on 65 and 85.
I agree.
Appreciate
the
it.
use of public transportation would be ideal. Unfortunately, we're in a car environment where you have a lot of people who, because of their schedules and things that come up, really want to have control over, if they have the means, want to have control over, when they come and when they go. Regional transportation services have not really fared that well across the Southeast, certainly like they are in the Mid-Atlantic and your more urban areas across this country. But it is something that, I think down the line we may look at. Right now, I want to make sure we fix our bus system in Montgomery and improve that. And so that's the biggest thing.
Good morning. You're on the air with the mayor.
Hey, Kevin. Good morning. Ed Butterelli.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, good morning.
I'm turning the speakerphone off here. I've been waiting on hold. Hey, first of all, I appreciate you coming on the air and giving us access to you, like you said you would. But I know you're over 100 days into your administration, and we're hearing a lot of talk. I want to hear, because you and I spoke before you got elected, and you told me day one that public safety was your number one issue. Mr. Mayor, no disrespect, but this city is out of control, sir. I'm going to bring up the incident that just happened last week at East El Mall, and I'm sure you've been bombarded with that, but that's just another incident of things going on in the city. You have 10 and 12 police cars responding to the mall. Our city's pretty much unprotected when that kind of bull crap's going on. So I want to know, I want to hear the iron fist, Stephen Reed. What are you doing, Mr. Mayor?
Well, the city is never unprotected. That's number one. We rolled out the Star Watch system to help integrate more cameras and more oversight in public places, as well as private residences for those people who want to participate in the Star Watch program. We'd like to see more coverage of that because it helps us, to essentially to keep eyes on things that are happening in real time. Mobile, for instance, has over 40% more coverage in their Star Watch program than we have right now. The second thing is, as it relates to isolated incidents here or there, I think that we kind of have, we mythicize the history a little bit. There have always been fights, okay? There were fights when I was in high school. They happened at the Magic Market. They happened at the skating rink. There always been fights in parking lots. So let's not act like, that's
Mr.
new.
Mayor, this you say isolated incidents. I don't want to be argumentative with you, but they're not isolated. And this was not a per se fight. It was absolutely crazy. And if you've seen the video footage, and I've heard from people that were there, and it's not isolated. Kevin, this is where I actually stand with you on a curfew. I almost think you've got this right. Mr. Mayor, I'm just telling you The city is out of control.
The numbers don't say the city is out of control. So
don't get into the analytical looking at numbers and that kind of stuff.
So I should get into the conjecture and the rumors and the Facebook posts.
No, sir, not conjecture and rumors. It's fact. It's going on.
Wait,
and,
the number. Hold on. The data and analytics aren't facts, but your rumor, your perception of. Now listen again.
Perception is Mr. Mayor. Perception is reality, and you promised the public that was your number one priority was public safety. You have people calling 911 that are being put on hold. That's unacceptable.
I would agree with that. And we're looking into that.
And we want to hear what we want to hear. I want to hear what you're doing right now. I want to hear Stephen Reed that's taking action. And what are you doing?
Well, now listen, I could come in there with a sledgehammer in any department and eliminate a whole lot of things and say that's change, right? So you can come in with a sledgehammer and say, well, you know what, I got something new, and so therefore it's improved. So what you do as a good leader is you assess the needs, you assess the operation, and you look at ways that you can move forward with that. Now, some people come in and they just tear everything out and they throw everybody out. That's not what we've done. So what we've done is we're talking about, hey, what works, what needs to be improved, what can we do a little different, whether that's with the Department of Public Safety and Director Sams all the way on down. So we're looking at all of those areas. But one thing that counts in that is resources. Certainly resources help, and certainly trying to address the areas throughout this community and talking to parents, talking to teachers, and talking to young people and listening also helps. And I think what happens with a lot of people that call in radio is there's not a lot of listening. There's a lot of conjecture. There's a lot of overreaction to an incident here, an incident there, and then casting dispersions based on those things. And so what we have to do is keep those things in line. I monitor our numbers every month in terms of where we are. And so the city is not out of control. It's not, certainly it can be improved. We're always looking to have no crime on any day. That's what every mayor wants, what every police chief wants. So you're always looking at ways to improve. But to say it's out of control is really over sensationalizing that.
Good morning, on there with the mayor.
Good morning, Mayor and the real mayor.
Good morning.
I appreciate you recognizing me.
Yes, sir. Two quick questions, Mayor. One
yes,
is, if you were presented with a proposal about going to a metro-type form of government combining the city and the county, would you consider it?
No.
Okay. Question number two, do you think your salary and your cabinet members' salaries are comparable to other cities?
Well, my salary is below other cities, well below, number one. The cabinet is right, probably in line with it based on their experience. So that's kind of how I would answer that question. But my salary is well below that of the mayors of other larger cities.
Do you think you could do a better job if you had a higher salary?
No, the salary doesn't drive me. The salary doesn't motivate me. My drive and the willingness to see the community improve does that. So that's not tied to it.
Great answer, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Good morning, on air with the mayor.
Morning, Jim.
Morning.
Morning, man.
Good morning.
We really can't hear you. Let me put you back on.
Hold on. Let me turn this radio. No. Let me turn this radio. Okay.
That's better.
Got me?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, I like
I still can't hear you. You're coming in and out.
everything. It's very good. It shows your work you've done at the probate office. And I appreciate that. It's an example that Nick Obama saying what he did.
Okay.
You don't have to satisfy it. Like I tell all my children, you don't have to satisfy me, but just being there means a lot to me and a lot to people that I know. So just keep up the good work, and I want to say this. One other thing. Try to do something for the West Side. You know, I live on the West Side, and it's a good place to live if we could have better streets, better paved, better insurance protection.
Okay, your phone is just not doing it, but
I think I heard enough. I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you said about the West Side. And there's a lot of effort being focused there right now in our administration, and that's not at the expense of any other part of the community. But we just recognize there have been some older parts of the city that just haven't maybe received some priorities that we want to look at right now, and that's kind of what we're looking at.
Let me ask you. Let's get down to we don't have a few minutes left. This whole occupational tax thing.
I can go a little bit.
Okay,
beyond.
Is this a dead issue?
What's that?
The occupation. Are we willing to?
No.
Is the city willing to go to court?
Yeah.
Because this is about This seems to be a Fourth Amendment issue. You allow others to do what we won't allow Montgomery to do.
Yeah. So if you had asked me, coming in, our priority or goal never was to pass an occupational tax in 2020. Period. Okay. I had expressed that was not on the table. I had expressed that in meetings that we were not going to consider that, even though we were studying it. We wanted to know the public safety needs. We wanted to know kind of where city needs were within that context. And I want to commend the city council. And I want to say this very publicly. The city council acted in a transparent manner. The state legislature did not. So the city acted in a very transparent manner. Glenn Pruitt, Charlie Jenwright, president of the city council, C.C. Calhoun was on that committee, Richard Bollinger, acted in a very, very transparent manner, having public hearings, not doing anything behind the scenes. And oftentimes, what happens is people wonder why you have, quote unquote, meetings off the books, over here over lunch, and it's because of things that took place. So what the legislature did and what Alpha did was they took advantage of that, and they assumed that we were going to pass an occupational tax. No one ever said that we were going to pass an occupational tax, even initiate an ordinance. No one called me. No one called Charlie Jenwright. So what Alpha Insurance did through Chris Sells and through Reed Ingram and others was they pushed this bill and they fast-tracked it in the Alabama legislature, unbeknownst to us.
They supersonicked it.
No question, supersonic. Yeah. First bill on the state agenda was this bill. So we're having public conversation around this, to inviting the public in, the media in, just to consider it. So it was never a priority for us to enact this ordinance. When it became a priority was when we were told we would never be able to do it. And so let me put in the clause here before somebody calls and says, well, they didn't say you can't ever do it. They're just saying you have to come to the legislature.
Which means you can't ever do it.
You can't ever do it.
Okay, that's what that means.
It's DOA when you get there, and that's what they know.
Have you received a call from the governor or from Chris Sells or anybody, Reading or anybody involved in this process? Has anybody called you?
Oh, after the process got going, yeah, we had some calls. It was already, the train was already moving down the track then. Yeah.
And and I know that if you guys go before the legislative body, that nothing's going to happen. I mean, we know that.
Right.
Because if it was going to happen, it would be happening now.
Sure.
Are you willing? Okay, so Mama, you say there's always two ways to skin a cat.
Right.
What about a 25-cent tax on gas?
Well,
hey,
you can look at a number of things, and most of the things in Alabama have to be done, through the state legislature. That's part of the problem.
But not the gas tax, not the little gas tax.
Well, no, I mean you've got some other things that you could do, but again, the priority here is not to increase fees, is not to do any of those things. The priority here was to assess needs and to then think about ways that we could address the needs that we had, particularly as it relates to public safety. You had a call earlier talking about, what are we doing in public safety? Well, part of those things we're assessing needs. We know we're on demand, and we know that we don't have the data and technology infrastructure that other large cities have, cameras, to start watching other community.
Right. But are you willing to consider a 25-cent gas
No, I mean, I shouldn't say I wouldn't consider. I never thought about it till you just said it now.
Now you got to put it in your repertoire.
Now you got it. But here's
we didn't get the money.
Yeah, well, here's the bigger piece. The bigger piece is not even just the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bigger piece is that you undermine local governance and you undermine home rule.
But they had no respect for you. They had no respect for local control. They just don't have it.
Well, I think you're right. And I think that's the bigger problem, because it really handcuffs cities to do what they need to do to address the needs in their municipalities. And that's why you had the mayors of 10 largest cities. We're not all of any one party, probably not even all of the same presidential choice, when you look at that, we come from various backgrounds in various parts of the state who all signed the letter opposing this bill, and that's also why you had the League of Municipalities oppose this legislation as well. Unfortunately, when you have Alpha out there pushing the legislature and they're the ones calling the shots, then the legislature's kind of.
And I did talk to the second guy in charge of League of Municipalities, and you're absolutely right. They were not for this. But listen, we got to go this hour. Can you say about 10, 15 more minutes or so?
We can go over the break.
Okay. Well, this break's about 6 minutes. 860. Well, sometimes you got to break it off, and somebody. Anyway, we'll be back right after this. His Honor, the Mayor of the City of Montgomery, Mr. Stephen Reed's with us. So you guys hold on. We'll be back. Okay, I am going to be back here in a second. I just got to wait till something catch up. The clock tell you to catch up with me. There we go.
Now, your WSFA 12 news update on News Radio 1440.
Good morning. I'm Jed Davis in the WSFA 12 newsroom. Here's what's happening on this Friday. Nathaniel Woods was executed by lethal injection. Woods was convicted about 15 years ago for his role in a deadly shooting. 4 Birmingham police officers were shot. 3 of them died.
Okay, we're back. No sound. I don't know what happened to my music. Oh, there it is right there. Okay, I got time for a couple more questions for the mayor, and then we're going to move on to other things because he's got to go do the people's business. And so 860-1440 is our number here. Let's see if I get it.
I was just reminded that I have to go read at an elementary school. This is Read Across America Week, Kevin, so I want you to keep that in mind.
Well, they never asked me to read anyway.
We want you to read. Yeah. We want you to read a little more and quit reading some of the other stuff you've been reading. We want you to read some different things now to uplift you.
Okay, Joe. Then I'll do that if you'll vote for Trump.
No.
Okay then. Okay.
That ain't. No, that 25% tax or whatever you just threw out there last hour.
Well, we need the money.
Yeah, we need the money. We're not trying to.
And a 20-cent tax on gas don't hurt anybody.
Hey, look here. I might move the Pike Road up Prattville.
Well, I'm just trying to help you figure out ways to get
I appreciate
to get money. Okay.
We not. Hey, my only thing is if you're gonna let other cities do it. Speaking of 25, it's 26 other cities that have occupation.
I'm with you.
That's my only thing. If it's bad for Montgomery, then it might be bad for Auburn. It might be bad for Birmingham and all these other cities that have it. Because I'm sure they don't appreciate what's the phrase in taxation
without representation.
Oh, that's cute.
That only matters to my girl.
That's cute. But nobody talks about that alpha sales tax they passed up there in Clanton to build that big rodeo hall up there.
That's true.
And then exempted the agricultural equipment from the tax. Nobody talks about that in Clanton in the Talking County, right?
Boy, that's a good one right there.
See, you gotta watch what people say now, but you gotta listen to what people say, but more importantly, watch what they do. Okay, nobody talks about us having this regressive sales tax of 10%. Sales tax and having a sales tax on groceries. Nobody cares about those taxes. No. But all of a sudden, you care about these other taxes. When we're just studying it, nobody, and what we said to the legislature was, hey, if you remove this bill, we won't pass the ordinance. We're just studying it right now. Just don't tell us we can't ever do what 26 other cities have already done.
Right, and that's my problem.
And we're okay.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. One of the things that I find that stops young folks from getting a job in the city of Montgomery is when they were stupid and dumb, like we've all have been there. Mm-hmm. We got tickets in our cars, and we never paid it, and we never paid it, and we never paid it. We just get one KPS one after another, one after another. And we do immunity a couple of days a year, but here's what I suggest. Why don't we clear all the books down there for a certain amount of money and start over with these young folks so they can get a license?
Let me say this. Whether you're young or old, we're looking at a number of ideas and proposals as it relates to tickets and fines and how they are implemented, those that are on the books right now. That has been something that we talked about a good little bit in the first 100 days, and we're going to look at some ideas of how to be fair about that. We know that there are some people who have a whole lot of tickets and have a whole lot of fines, for different reasons.
They'll never pay.
But I think there are some ways that we can enforce the rules and regulations of the city and the ordinances that we have without being as punitive as we've been. And so we're in the conversation.
One more thing. Somebody came to me yesterday and asked me, does the police department have a quota? No. Is there a quota when it comes to writing tickets? Now, before you answer that, have you investigated that? Do you know that for a fact?
I have never asked, is there a quota for tickets? What I've asked is, what's our practices and procedures as we go about that?
Well, what if I tell you that I've had a couple of police officers tell me that if they don't write a ticket, somebody think they're not doing their job. In other words, they go out there thinking somebody breaking the law, which they probably right. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, if you get rewarded for writing tickets, and if that's your motivation, then some of those tickets shouldn't be written. I don't know. You need to find that out. I'm not saying if I know one way. I just had some folks in high places to tell me that if they don't write tickets, they do get somewhat, the jaundiced eye. You're going to sit out there in there freely all day long and don't write one ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know.
Listen, I said we listen and learn the first 100 days. That listening and learning never stops.
Okay.
So that I'll include that and I'll check on it and I'll follow back up with you.
Is there a need for SAMs?
There's some who believe that the Department of Public Safety position is a value-added position. There are others that do not. We're looking at all the positions. We're always evaluating our leadership to determine is there a need for that, and is the person that's in that position the best person to move us forward.
Okay. My only problem with General Sams is that I tried to get him on the air a couple of times. He won't come.
Well, that's fine. That's why I come.
Yeah, but wait a minute. He works for the citizens of Montgomery.
Well, first of all, nobody's gonna come unless they get that works that reports to me, unless I tell them they can. That's number one. So number two,
hold on, let me turn around for a second. Yeah, that don't say the real mayor, does it?
No.
I'm the play mayor. Okay, I'm gonna take one more call.
And I don't want anyone. It's not. We focus on the Department of Public Safety. Has been questioned a lot, but we look at all the departments and all the department heads and evaluate kind of where we are and the type of leadership and culture that we have. And so we haven't. The people that have left from the previous administration have retired, and most of them have planned to retire. Most of those positions have not even been filled yet. So we have not really been in the business of really replacing and making decisions, because it's hard to do that unless you just come in with a disposition that you just don't believe in this department.
So the campaign trail is a little bit different than the reality of the office.
No question about that. Yeah. No question.
One more call for you. Good morning. You're on air.
I should have been waiting. Hey.
Yes.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, sir.
You're doing a great job. And one thing about the court, when you go down there, and Kevin, you ain't gonna like this. It'd be a room full of black folks, and I know more than black folks are getting tickets.
Well, everybody else got a credit card they can pay.
No, I'm not talking about paying. I'm talking about being in court.
Yeah, everybody else pay their tickets online.
Oh, so
I paid mine online. So I paid my little red light camera thing, which I thought we didn't have anymore. But
So Kevin, what you said is that nobody's paying online, but white folks.
Well, no, I imagine there's some black folks pay online too. They don't want to be seen down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. That needs to be looked at also.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm in there, I'm trying to beat the ticket. That's why I'm in there.
What?
I'm trying to beat the ticket if I'm in there. And you can't beat the ticket online. You just can pay.
Just pay it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a point of view of it, but it probably needs to be looked at. All right. Thanks, man.
Fair enough. Yes, sir.
Well, Mayor, thank you for coming up. I know you got other things to do today. You want to take one more call? Yeah, just take one more.
Okay.
Yeah, one more. Then this is it.
All right.
Good morning. Who's this?
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Know the mayor got to go.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, please don't ever say that again. You can't pay a reckless driving or DUI ticket online, so you're telling me white people don't get those tickets. Don't say that no more now. Okay. Thank you, man, for coming on in Georgia and keep up the good work. We support you.
Oh,
Thank you so much, sir.
You can't pay a DUI, DUI online?
No.
Well, I've never had a DUI, so how would I know? I mean,
Look,
I never even drank the beer.
Listen, at the end of it, here are the pluses. The community support has been outstanding, and I think the community has been great to this administration. Has been giving us fantastic feedback and ideas for us to implement, and we've already started on doing those. We have not completed, by any stretch of the imagination, what we plan to do, and we're going about that deliberately and intentionally. I think that one area, certainly we've been sidetracked with some of the state legislation that's been introduced, which is not anything we asked for, anything that we could have predicted, but we're doing the work of the people, and that is we're going to move the city forward. And we know there are going to be obstacles. We know there are going to be challenges to that. But I believe that, the relationship we have with the city council, with our county commission, our school board, and our state delegation is positive, and it's one that's going to work to the benefit, I believe, because of the people that are here. And I think the best thing that we have about Montgomery is the people that are here committed, and they are great people who really want to see us move forward. There may be some people outside of Montgomery who don't want to see us move forward. But there are people in Montgomery who really are going to help us do that and already have been. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be back. Okay. Just like I said, I didn't want you to think that I was a part-time radio co-host before we got things going.
Yeah, with you.
So we'll be back. Okay. We'll talk to the people.
I have one more question before you go. I've always been a proponent. If a man gets a job, he finishes the job. Can you commit to us that 2 years from now you won't be trying to run for a higher office?
Like what?
Higher.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that.
So you will fulfill your commitment if the people put you in for 4 years?
Oh, definitely.
Unless you die or something.
I hope not.
I mean, we do.
We all want to go to heaven, but I just said that the other day.
I just said
that. But ain't none of us trying to get. Okay. Ain't none of us trying to get there on the fast track.
That's true. Okay, so because there were rumors going around town that said Stephen would think about running for Congress. Already. No, hell, he just got there.
No, you can have that.
Okay, I'm going to have to save this tape.
Okay.
Okay.
You can say, I'll come back and be like your man Trump.
Yep.
And I'll just say I didn't say it. You know we got you on tape saying it.
Yeah, okay.
So that's fine.
Okay, we'll see.
That's your president.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Your WS
for the things that you want. I mean, nobody wants to pay more money. You think I would? I mean, I want to buy a bigger computer, or I want to. Okay, no, I really don't want to buy a bigger computer. I got the biggest computer anybody in Montgomery. Okay, so I don't need a bigger computer, but I like to pay off a bill or two, without giving the money to the government. But I also am a realist. I also understand that, there are certain parts of Montgomery that have been neglected for years. It would be nice. There's some people that say if AC had been in the car, if there had been two people in the police car with him that night, maybe things wouldn't have turned out the way they did. Maybe potential people who want to start trouble won't start trouble with two people when two officers are there rather than one. I don't know. We could use more. Police officers, they're not the total cure for all of our problems, but they do lend a hand, as it were. Martha Roby was on the city council some years ago and telling us they had what was called charrettes. They had this thing where they were going to do this and do that and do this and do that. And if you go through Montgomery right now, we still can't they still don't have a sidewalk over on Fairview. We still got people who are crossing the street in wheelchairs because they don't have a sidewalk, So there's no place for them to ride their wheelchairs and stuff. I'm just saying, but you don't see that. You don't see that any other place in Montgomery except on the post sides of town. Okay. But on the other hand, let me digress. On the other hand, I got to ask the mayor, I don't think we need to turn our city government into a social services event. I don't. But we do. But I believe, I'm with the mayor on this, I do believe that everybody ought to have access to the same thing. And again, 26 cities can do it, but when Montgomery decides to do it, all of a sudden it's taxation without representation. That's a bunch of crockola, okay? Because are you telling me that Auburn and Opelika and all these other cities who have occupation taxes, it's okay for them to have taxation without representation? Got to take a break, and I won't be back yet. I'll stay right here for the time being. One more thing. Now, let's talk about something that happened last night that I'm all confused about. You know, when judges come up here sometimes, or judicial candidates, one of the things I get on them for is, why is it that we live in a country where if a lawyer messes up, his client has to pay? This young man, 43 years old, was killed last night by the state of Alabama. Essentially, we murdered him. Okay, and listen, the state murdered this guy. He may have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it is my understanding, after all of the investigations and all this stuff, that they could not prove that this guy even had a gun. He was in a drug house. Evidently, he was in the drug house the whole time. Somebody said he may have talked smack. Okay, so what? You don't get killed for talking smack. But the governor, in her infinite wisdom, that's two things she's done dumb, would not give the guy clemency. You can always kill people if you are determined to do that. You can always kill people, but once you kill them, you cannot bring them back. And essentially, the state of Alabama murdered a guy last night. Okay, now we murder people, we go to jail, but that's what they did. Okay, he did not kill anybody. He did not have a weapon, but we killed him anyway. If that's not murder, I don't know what it is. Okay, I don't get that, And I'm pro-police, and I understand there are three, but let me tell you something. They are trying to pass a law that makes it a death penalty case automatically if you kill a police officer. I'm scared of that, because last I checked, my life is as valuable as anybody else's life, regardless of your profession.